Welcome back to Bad Things in History, where we take this moment to remind you that you're probably not as bad as you think you are. If everyone was awful, there would be no need for what we do. The history of the United States is complicated and troubling. The country is made of 50 states, and each of them have made their own horrible contributions to the legacy of humanity. This episode is the first in a new series. We are going to examine each state individually and explore some of its worst events. Let's begin with death and destruction in Texas. 1900 Galveston Hurricane. Galveston is an island located off the coast of Texas. Historically, it has been important for both trade and the military. Except for a brief period during the Civil War, the port of Galveston was among the busiest in the United States. Between 1870 and 1890, it became the largest city in Texas and was also the wealthiest, but as the 19th century came to a close, nature would end the reign of this fledgling coastal metropolis. Airplanes didn't exist yet, neither did weather satellites. Officials received most of the weather updates from ships that observed storms at sea. On August 27, 1900, a ship encountered a tropical storm east of the Windward Islands. It continued moving over the next several days and entered the Caribbean Sea on October 31st. Over the next week, it finally progressed into the Gulf of Mexico. The hurricane hit Galveston on the evening of September 8th. It was a Category 4 hurricane with wind speeds around 140 miles per hour. The city of Galveston was only 8.7 feet above sea level. The hurricane brought a storm surge that raised the water to 15 feet. In addition to rising waters from the ocean, the hurricane dropped 9 inches of rain on Galveston in a 24-hour period. The hurricane destroyed all infrastructure on the island. Bridges, railroad tracks, and electrical wires were all washed away. Many of the buildings in Galveston were stripped off their foundations and disappeared into the ocean. Before the storm, the city had a population of 38,000 people. When the hurricane was finished, every single home was damaged. At least 10,000 of those affected were completely homeless thanks to the storm. Nobody is sure how many people died. The figures range from 6,000 to 12,000. Many of them drowned. Several were trapped under debris and succumbed to injuries before rescuers could arrive. For the survivors, dealing with corpses became a big problem. At first, the citizens forcibly recruited a group of African Americans at gunpoint. They were forced to take the dead out to sea and dump them. But then the bodies just washed back onto the island. Finally, it was decided to put the bodies into piles and burn them. After the hurricane, Galveston was no longer the financial center of Texas. That honor was instead given to the city of Houston. The Galveston Hurricane is still the deadliest natural disaster in United States history. It also caused around $1.2 billion in damage. New London School Explosion. For most people in the United States, the 1930s were a difficult time to earn a living. The Great Depression forced many into unemployment and homelessness. However, the residents of Rusk County, Texas were more fortunate than most. Oil was discovered there in 1930. Over the next several years, the area would become quite prosperous. In 1932, the county used tax revenue to build the New London School. Officials spent $1 million while constructing the facility, which would be equal to $32 million today. To keep students and staff warm during the winter months, 72 gas heaters were installed throughout the building. These worked as intended, but after 5 years, the county decided that paying for natural gas was too expensive. They decided to try an alternative plan. Oil companies in the area also extracted natural gas. For them, it was a waste product. They used a special pipe to remove these gases from oil wells. Although they didn't explicitly give permission for people to use the extracted gas, oil companies also didn't care to stop anyone who did so. In 1937, the New London School Board canceled their natural gas contract. They then tapped directly into a gas company's pipe and began using it as fuel instead. Natural gas is odorless and colorless, so nobody noticed when it began leaking into spaces below the school. Students began complaining about headaches and feeling nauseous, but the adults didn't seem to care. On March 18th at 3:17 p.m., an instructor flipped a switch on an electric sanding machine. The switch caused a spark, which in turn ignited the leaking gas. There was an incredibly large explosion. Witnesses claimed that walls of the school bulged. They saw the roof rise and then fall back down. Then parts of the building collapsed. Shrapnel flew in every direction. A 4,000-pound concrete block separated from the school and traveled 200 feet, crushing a 1936 Chevrolet truck. At the time of the explosion, there were more than 600 people in the school. Around 300 died from their injuries. Several reporters arrived to cover the story. Instead of being allowed to interview witnesses, they were put to work clearing debris and helping the wounded. Walter Cronkite was one of the reporters who showed up after the explosion. He said of the experience, "I did nothing in my studies nor in my life to prepare me for a story of the magnitude of that New London tragedy, nor has any story since that awful day equaled it." 1947 Texas City disaster. During World War II, the United States built Liberty ships. These were vessels that could be constructed cheaply, quickly, and carry a lot of cargo. After the war ended, many of these ships were used to help rebuild Europe. Texas City was a port city in the Bay of Galveston. In 1947, there was a Liberty ship called SS Grand Camp docked there. About 600 feet away was another ship called High Flyer. Both ships were carrying large amounts of ammonium nitrate. It was going to be sent to France so that farmers could use it as fertilizer. Ammonium nitrate is also a very powerful explosive under the right conditions. On April 16, 1947, smoke was seen coming from the hold of the Grand Camp. At first, workers from the dock tried to extinguish the fire using water, but the captain of the ship told them to stop. He didn't want to risk his cargo being ruined. Instead, he sealed the hold and filled it with steam to try and smother the flames. The steam did not extinguish the fire. The captain of the Grand Camp had instead created a time bomb. The steam in the ship's hold created more pressure than the doors could handle. The hatches blew away and smoke and fire shot out of the Grand Camp. Onlookers on the shore watched with fascination. They assumed they were safe, but they were very wrong. At 9:12 a.m., heat and pressure finally caused the ammonium nitrate within Grand Camp to explode. Nearly 1,000 buildings were destroyed along the shore. Flying shrapnel caused several fires on land. 2 sightseeing airplanes were blown out of the sky. At least 567 people died in the blast and its aftermath. The explosion set High Flyer free, where it then drifted into the docks. Crews worked throughout the night to try and move the ship. However, the cargo on the ship caught fire. Those who were working to relocate the vessel fled the area the next morning. At 1:10 p.m. on April 16th, the High Flyer exploded. Thankfully, after the first explosion, most of the remaining survivors had evacuated. There were a few casualties, but the property damage was immense. In total, about 479 people were either dead or missing. About 5,000 were injured and needed treatment. Financially, the damage done by the explosion would cost about $5.4 billion today when adjusted for inflation. This is still considered the worst industrial accident in the United States history. Delta Airlines Flight 191 crash. The Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is a very busy place. Flights are arriving and departing all the time, day and night. This was true in the 1980s as well. In 1985, Delta Airlines operated Flight 191. It was a regularly scheduled flight that started in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and continued to Los Angeles, California. Along the way, it usually stopped in Dallas. On August 2, 1985, the pilots on board Flight 191 were getting ready to leave Florida. They checked the weather and noticed that there would be storms all the way into Dallas. The pilots didn't see a reason to delay the trip, so they took off at 2:10 p.m. As the plane flew near New Orleans, the storm became stronger than expected. The pilots changed their flight path slightly north to try and avoid the worst of it. Unfortunately, the storm was still very active when they reached the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A little after 6 p.m., the plane attempted to land in heavy rains. As the aircraft approached the runway, it began descending too quickly. The pilots tried to abort the landing and gain altitude, but it was too late. About a mile north of the runway, the landing gear, against the wishes of the pilots, touched a plowed field. The plane continued moving through the field and onto the highway. It hit a street light. Then the left engine of the aircraft plowed into a car and killed the occupant. The remains of the plane kept moving down the road, striking more traffic lights. Finally, it broke into several pieces, the largest of which came to rest against 2 water tanks. Passengers attempted to escape. However, jet fuel caught on fire and many of them burned to death. Still, some did manage to exit what was left of the plane. There were 163 people on board Flight 191, including passengers and crew. The accident killed 137 of them. An investigation of the accident blamed the pilots for flying through such a powerful thunderstorm. It was also discovered that wind shear is what caused the plane to descend so quickly. Changes were made to commercial aircraft as a result of this accident. Today, planes can detect wind shear and take action to avoid it. The Eyeball Killer. In addition to hosting accidents and natural disasters, Texas has also been home to some notable criminals. Charles Albright was born in Amarillo, Texas on August 10, 1933. He was adopted from an orphanage and into a strict family. Discipline did little to suppress the troubling urges Charles began having. Although he was intelligent and a good student, Charles couldn't stop himself from stealing. He spent a year in jail as a teenager. When released, he went to college in Arkansas, hoping to become a doctor. But he was caught stealing there as well and was soon expelled. This didn't stop Charles. He created fake degrees and used them to get a job as a teacher. While working, he also forged checks. Eventually, he was caught and sent to prison. Charles Albright was in and out of prison most of his adult life because of his petty theft habit, but his preferences for crime would eventually escalate. On December 13, 1990, a woman named Mary Lou Pratt was found dead. She was a well-known prostitute in the Dallas area. She was beaten, then shot in the back of the head. Most notably, the killer surgically removed her eyeballs and took them. On February 10, 1991, another dead prostitute was found not far from where Mary died. Her name was Susan Beth Peterson. She had been shot 3 times, and her eyes had also been removed. Finally, on March 10, 1991, the last victim was discovered. Shirley Williams was also a prostitute. She was found dead lying near an elementary school. She had been beaten and shot, and her eyes were missing. After investigating these murders, the police decided that Charles Albright was the killer. However, other than his confession, they didn't really have anything to use against him. Their evidence was circumstantial at best. In the end, the jury convicted Charles on 1 count of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. He died in a prison hospital on August 22, 2020, at the age of 87. Texas history is full of disturbing and usually preventable events. We have only explored a few of the more interesting ones today. Which of these stories bothered you the most, and did we fail to mention something you think is important? Also, which state do you think we should cover next in this series? Let us know in the comments below. If you want more control over which topics we cover, there is a way to acquire power over us. Consider becoming a patron, because nothing says listen to me like money. If you pay us, we'll make the episodes you want. There is also merchandise on the website if you're interested. All the links you need are in the video description. Thank you for watching Bad Things in History.